Hello again, race fans, and welcome to the ongoing saga here of the US IndyCar League on VirtualRacing.Network. It's season 13, race 8 of 12. Instead of 127 laps around this 1.5-mile oval, it's going to be 124 laps today. And it is set to be a scorcher here in what's known as Hot Atlanta. The drivers are heading down now to make their way onto the track and qualify for today's action. We'll step down trackside, see if we can pick them up. And so great to have you along with us today. Of course, my name, Trevor Greenfield. I will be with you to cover all the action today, as I have been since the very end of Season 10. Of course, if you missed any of our races this season, you can go back and catch them right here on VirtualRacing.Network's YouTube channel. Awesome to have you with us. We look forward to seeing full field today, and there right immediately at the top of the time charts is Mr. David Zaleski, who is back in action this week and already showing some of that speed that he is well known for. Getting out there and racing in the orange and white colors and representing his New York club. Zaleski, third fastest, as Jason Lowe, once the champion here in the league, maybe again, but showing some of that speed that he's also known for. And we'll see if we can catch somebody out there on their hot lap. It's Dan Ensch. He's just put in a full lap. He's going to try for another one here, currently qualified fifth. Now, the story of today's race is going to definitely be the heat here in Hot Atlanta. As you can imagine, with where we're at in winter time, a lot of the southeast and eastern seaboard are under a lot of snow and cold weathers, frigid temperatures right now, but thanks to the world of virtual racing, it is as hot as it's ever been here in Atlanta and scorching this temperature on the track. Ensch going second fastest, tying down to the 100th of a second Jason Lowe, but Lowe just getting that 1,000th of a second in a little bit faster. And here's a new driver to, well, not brand new, of course. We've seen Julian Altenham a couple of times here in the US IndyCar League, but great to have him back. Last time we saw him was at the Daytona Road Course. And, of course, he's always racing as part of his own Velocity online racing group. You can catch their racing channel here on YouTube as well. Good friend to VirtualRacing.Network and a co-commentator that has been alongside me in the booth for some broadcasts. But Altena out there on the track, looking to start today's race perhaps near the front. We'll find out momentarily, as also Speed Demon David Strid on track as well. He's somebody to definitely keep your eye on, because Strid, he's taking wins, he's taking pole positions. He is he possibly could end up on your pole position, as Altena has already completed a one lap. He's a bit off the pace. We'll see if he gets a faster second lap here. And he does not really improve that much. Now we take a look at said Speed Demon Strid. Easier for others to say than me, but that's all the work I'm doing for the day. I'm putting S words together. There's David Strid on his second lap. Will he take pole position away from Jason Lowe? He will not. So the favorites in the crowd to take pole position going to be lining up a little bit further back today, going to have their work cut out for them, including champion and current points leader Graham Bunyan going to be starting on the second row. Kind of a surprise. Newcomer Mauro Ramirez slotting in there in 8th. And so we'll get a chance to take a look here at final results momentarily. And here is how they will line up for today's race here in Atlanta. It is on the pole position We haven't seen him on the pole for some time, but we knew it was possible. It is Jason Lowe racing for Rescue Ranch, and he is going to be in control of today's race. Just 1/1000th of a second over Dan Ensch, and that's actually quite a surprise to see Dan up there. He doesn't normally qualify so well. He was talking to me before today's race. Dan's actually my teammate over at Last Lap Motorsports, and he was letting me know some of the strategy that's going into today's race, but that most of the drivers were really struggling with this setup and the hot temperatures here. We'll take a look at the exact weather here in just a moment. Starting on row 2 is going to be your champion Graham Bunyan and his teammate Ryan Bowles there alongside. You know, Graham is, I mean, 2/1000ths of a second off. I'd hardly call that slow or second row material, but there he is nonetheless. He'll be able to see the pace car from there for sure, and we'll look forward to seeing whether Graham Bunyan will stay back there in the pack or perhaps assume his normal position up at the front with David Strid. We'll find out today. Ryan Bowles will have something to say about that. He's a very competitive driver, can never count him out, as well as seeing James Kennedy returning to action, another one of the favorites to get up there and potentially win today. David Strid, always a favorite here in the series. He's in second in the points. David Zaleski returning to action, and if there is one guy I would call Mr. Excitement in the field, it's David Zaleski, who seems to be able to get it done anytime he puts that right foot down on the track. Mauro Ramirez, new to the league, but he's already qualifying mid-pack, and he's climbing in the points. Julian Altena helping out our international component of drivers. Dutch driver going to be starting there from 9th. Howard Livingston, regular here in the series. And Jeff Murray, of course, back in action again this week. Iñigo Mardones, another great driver racing for Necchi Racing Team, back in the field this week. And Mike West, Manuel Gomez Esteban, not taking times, but they will be bringing up the tail of the field, and perhaps not taking times, but they will work on their racecraft. Let's go ahead and get the points as they stand. We just have a moment to look at it before we get underway here. Graham Bunyan leading your points, not taking the win last week, but that gap between Bunyan and Strid closing down, now just 11 points. Howard Livingston still there as well. Mauro Ramirez climbing all the way up into 11th here with just 4 races under his belt. So we look to see whether Lowe and Livingston can possibly climb up to the front. Here we go. We're getting ready for 124 laps of action, and Jason Lowe will be leading us to the green flag as he has done so many times. What kind of weather are we facing today? Well, there you can see 132 degrees on the track. It's so hot I can't even think those numbers, but here we go. Who will conquer Atlanta in the heat? That is anyone's question. We've got a car, Ryan Bowles, it appears, down on the apron. Not sure what's going on there, but we've got side-by-side action just behind between Kennedy and Ensch for 3rd place, as Lowe and Bunyan are now battling it out at the front. Here comes Bunyan on the low side. Will he do it? He does take the position as they now head onto the backstretch, and they're still racing side by side for 3rd. So we'll get the tower back up there, and you can see where everyone's at. Graham Bunyan, now your leader. It took him no time at all to make that decision that he wanted to come forward, take that position from Jason Lowe, and start to control the clean air in this race. Meanwhile, fighting it out for 3rd. Back here, it's Dan Ensch. He's trying to keep some cars behind him there, as you can see, including David Strid. And he's doing a decent job at that. They're racing pretty tight behind. That's Ensch, who's lost 1 spot from where he started, but it's Strid who's gained 2 spots. Jason Kennedy right there as well, where he qualified in that blue car. So we're already here working on lap 5. This one reeling off pretty quick. And of course, I was going to mention it ahead of time as Jason Lowe. Get to that in a minute. Jason Lowe now looking on the low side. Take a look from on board the 004 machine of Lowe, racing with Rescue Ranch. And getting that bump into turn 1, through turn 1 and 2. That is the one that everyone's been talking about ahead of time. It's so vicious. You've got to watch out for that bump, and it will make things difficult today as that temperature is absolutely about as hot as we can get out there. It's come down 1 degree now as we're now at 1:21 p.m. and possibly the zenith of where the temperature will get to today, but that is just going to burn off that right side tire, whether we're talking about the right front, the right rear. Comes down to how these drivers decide to adjust those settings in the car. And we do have word that Manuel Gomez Esteban has actually come into the pits. So we can see he's now exiting the pits there. One other thing to note over at the weather is that it's 9 miles an hour and it's 69% humidity. Nice. But the 69% humidity, it's quite high. So Hot Atlanta absolutely living up to its name. Hot and sticky. Just one of those races where you're thanking goodness that you are not in that real life race car, because you can just imagine the sweltering heat coming off of that Dallara IR18 IndyCar and building up in that cockpit, especially with these aero screens, which the real life drivers have been really fighting to get extra air movement into those cockpits. I know when I race, and as Jason Lowe getting very close up into near the wall there, but not quite hitting the wall, trying to mitigate perhaps some of this heat and running the high line there, but real life drivers really trying to get the air in there. And I know I always race with a fan, and even if it's only 70 to 80 degrees in my racing studio, so you can just imagine what it's like to be wearing the Nomex as Jason Lowe has done for all those years in his real life racing sprints and all kinds of dirt fun track, short track stuff, but gets very, very hot very quickly. And even though you're a sim racer doing 124 laps around a track like this, build up that heat exceptionally quick. So just behind Graham Bunyan, who is your clear leader at the moment, to have Jason Lowe here, 3-time champ, trying to chase down the 2-time champ of Graham Bunyan, keep him from getting that final third tying mark in the league. And of course, we really haven't had much of a chance to talk today about him or about the brand, but US IndyCar League presented by StickQuik. StickQuik.com for all of your organization in your shop and your house. StickQuik.com presenting the Atlanta 190 here today. And Mr. StickQuik not in the field. Rick Kelbaugh not here today to represent the StickQuik brand, but make sure we get a word in a little bit later about that awesome product and what it does for all of us. But here's James Kennedy. He's picked up a spot now, and he's currently racing in 4th. Take a look through the field as things are starting to get a little spread out, and that's kind of what we thought might happen here today. Kennedy racing there in 4th. Strid up into 3rd, and as we go further back, Strid up 3 positions, by the way. Zaleski, we were talking about him earlier. He's someone with speed, someone to circle and watch through the race, and if it's his day, he's one of those drivers you pretty much can't stop on his way to the front. So a New York-based driver. They're running in 5th, up 2 spots so far. I tell you, the driver that's kind of slipped back a little bit, but he may be managing those tires. He may be managing the fuel by now. You know him as the fuel-saving master. Doesn't always work out to his benefit, but he gives it a shot more often than not, trying to squeeze out that one type of victory where he can put everyone a lap down and not even have to think about racing them on the track, or just find yourself there at the front with a properly timed caution and have a chance to race for the win at the end. It's the goal for Dan Ensch most of the time, racing for the ALZ.org group and Alzheimer's Association Awareness. Also got Spark VR on there, and their great sponsor, Last Lap Motorsports. And we've got Mauro Ramirez. Mauro, brand new to the league as of just a few races ago. This is now his, I believe, 5th start in the league. And he's up a spot already. He's been holding his own so very well here. And it's been quite entertaining to watch him coming up through. You can hold your own at Atlanta or Charlotte on these tricky to adjust for 1.5 milers. You're doing something right. So Mauro Ramirez here running well, but gonna have to deal with a full day of these tires and how to deal with that as they start to kick off on that right rear and that right front. Who will be our first takers on the pit road will probably be those suffering the worst, and eventually, as somebody who's driven these Indy cars a few times, eventually you just give up. You just say, I can't drive this thing anymore and I got to bring it in. Who will be the first taker? We'll find out here coming up. First round of pit stops in about 9 laps. Meanwhile, we look at Howard Livingston, who's racing for carecamps.org and the Coconut Castaways down in Florida. And doing a great job of it, hanging out in the points in 3rd, but just not quite able to get the results recently. They try to climb up there into 2nd and 1st in the points, but still multiple races to go at the end of this season, really anybody's championship. And there we're looking at Jeff Murray, as we see that he's battling with Ryan Bowles. Jeff Murray coming back to the league here again last race. Great to have some familiar regular names back in the league. Was out doing a fixed race and happened to stumble across Jeff Murray a few weeks ago, and I was wondering why he wasn't back in the league, and you know, then he showed up again, and I'm just, it's so fun to see drivers that you know, they want some time off, they've got some other things to take care of perhaps in life, or perhaps they're just not getting on with the Sunday morning races as much, and you know, heading out there to get it done as much as they can on the track. It's great to have Murray come back and put in with these US IndyCar regulars, as he's raced with them for many, many races and many seasons. Always a fun driver to have in the group, and always a, you know, as I mentioned, he's out there racing on the regular. So awesome to have him part of the group here and bringing some of that experience. And as you also saw, Ryan Bowles, he's one of our winners here in the league, but today the adjustments just not coming to him. He's dropped 5 positions, but he's still fighting it out with Murray and possibly Howard Livingston there for 8th place. We'll keep an eye on that. Here's Julian Altena, who is usually quite a master at these cars, but I don't know, maybe not quite getting in the type of effort today that he would like, but perhaps he's just hanging out in the back. You'd never know until we start circling these pit stops, because we really don't know who's fuel saving out there or who is struggling to make those adjustments. Nobody's hit the wall yet, but these drivers all kind of still hanging out together, as we do have Jeff Murray in the wall. Murray, and unfortunately Altena gets wiped out in the process. It looks like Mike West slowing down to a crawl to get through, but Murray having an incident, getting loose. I mean, almost on cue here. bringing out our first yellow of the day, and that's unfortunate. I'm sure we'll have some comments here in the YouTube chat room, as Julian Altena was letting us know ahead of time in the chat room that he's really he's actually raced here recently and was looking forward to this race. Pit exit is death. Unfortunately, telling me I need to refresh trading paints. That's why we love using third-party services to do our liveries on screen. Is it's always guaranteed to be working perfectly, isn't it? Okay, so unfortunately that first incident taking out these drivers, we're going to take a step back here and see if we can figure out what happened. There, we're a little late to get to the action. Let's see if we jump back. Here's from Murray. He's up into the wall there and just comes off, and it's too late for Julian Altena, whom I have refreshed my trading paints for, and for his sake I'll do it again so we can try to make sure that we get the correct livery for Mr. Altena onto there. He has so many liveries that we need to refresh. Back to Altena's point of view. Nope, not quite yet. Well, let's see if we can do it one more time. We are getting a lot of drivers into the pits, as you can imagine. We just... There we go. Now we've got the proper livery on there. Boom! Just riding off the right front on that car, and hopefully Mr. Altena getting his hands out of the way. What did it look like from Mike West's point of view? Well, let's find out. It's not going to be pretty. Oh, my... Oh, and Mike West did, in fact, get tagged. I saw it a little bit late, and I thought we might... thought Mike might have been able to skip by, but unfortunately not able to do so. We join back to the live picture here, and Graham Bunyan, after pit stops there, able to rejoin in the lead. No surprise. Jason Lowe in second. Jump on board the StickQuik.com blimp. See that Manuel Gomez Esteban now, as he was a couple of laps down, had to wait for this pit stop cycle so that he could pit, and we do not have time to get to our StickQuik.com commercial. We'll get to that on our next yellow period, so we'll continue to talk a little bit more about this action and what we have seen here today. Well, it's been a hot one here in Hotlanta. 133 on the track now. It had come down to 131. I thought maybe a little bit of cloud cover. You know, maybe it might just be cooling off a little bit. Not so, says the weather gods. It's 134 it's now ticked up to. It's one of the hottest oval racing track temperatures it's not that I've ever seen. I think it can go all the way up to 137 or so, but this is about as hot as we ever face as drivers here on oval racing on iRacing. And you know, with that comes its own kind of strategy, to be quite honest with you. You really have to look, as we see Dan Ensch now making a late entry. He's going to top off, unless he has to serve a penalty for too fast entry into the pits. This is Dan Ensch kind of making a move here to get an extra little bit into that tank. Will it pay off in the long run? See how long he's down there. They don't change tires. And he is underway. So making sure that he is completely topped off and nobody else taking advantage of that, that puts him at a 2-lap advantage on the fuel. Now, they used very, very little here under caution, so it's really only a fractional amount, but it may be enough to get him an extra lap out there on the track, and who knows where this will all cycle around to. If we get back underway at 33, it would say that he basically at this point if he can go past the 30 lap mark and it stays green, there is a very good chance that Dan Ensch may be the only driver that can make it to the end. It just really comes down to how everybody fuel saves from here on out. But there is the man at the front, the man who has been holding his own here in the league, and it's Graham Bunyan. He's been doing it for a couple of seasons. Will anybody have the answer today, including David Strid? We'll find out. It's stacking up a little bit as we see Jason Lowe in second place. Now under attack from James Kennedy, who's come forward 2 positions. And just as we were talking about before, Mr. Excitement there, David Zaleski used to race with a Dale Earnhardt. As we actually have a couple of things happening here. It's Jason Lowe around the outside. We also had a note that Ryan Bowles had a moment and went off track. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. But Jason Lowe trying the high side on Graham Bunyan. Not able to get it done. We'll wait to see whether or not Lowe's going to make another attempt on that high side. He's not doing it yet. I think maybe he had enough to make one lunge at it, and perhaps he can control the front. There is Ryan Bowles on the apron coming into the pits. So let's take a look at what caused that initial off track. Here he is coming through the tri-oval, gets it across the grass and goes flying over the grass. What a ride for Ryan Bowles. Now, unfortunately, that's the reason why he has to come back into the pits, is because he just clipped into the pit lane there at the end of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And unfortunately, he will have to get back into the pits and serve that penalty for unsafe pit entry. So we'll go back to the live picture here. You see we see Ryan Bowles still sitting on pit lane, still serving that penalty, and perhaps gonna call it a day. We'll have to wait and see, but it's Graham Bunyan who's jumped out to 3/4 of a second lead here on lap 37. Very hot race today in Atlanta at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. So great to have you with us here on VirtualRacing.Network. We've got Will Stearns over in the chat room. He's not surprised that it's Graham Bunyan up in front. Now, Stearns and Bunyan have had some exchanges in the past. Not necessarily all pleasant ones, but still they're fans of each other and their competitiveness. And certainly you can't take anything away from Graham Bunyan and what he's managed to do here in the US IndyCar League over the last 3 seasons. It has been absolutely astounding, as he gave Lowe just about everything he could handle at the end of season 10. And from that point on, season 11 and 12, and now coming into 8 races here into season 13, it has been relatively the Graham Bunyan show, with other star players showing up occasionally, but it's, you know, for a fixed setup series, especially one where everybody is equally struggling, it just goes to show you how much talent is in this Australian, in Graham Bunyan. He is just able to pretty much do what he wants week in and week out. He has a great control over the car, great understanding of how to make the adjustments, and it doesn't matter what livery he's got on that car, he is out there running in front. I tell you what, somebody out there would like to see their logo on the side of this car. He might be open to an opportunity, because he is frequently right up there at the front and getting lots of airtime. It'd be great to get him back into some more competitive racing out there in the other series and leagues, but he creates time in his busy schedule. He's involved in the healthcare industry, and as you can imagine, with the pandemic going on, it's all kinds of demands on his time at the moment. So just great that he can make it out there for our Sunday leagues. But once a fixture in the fixed series for iRacing, and well, I got to tell you, there's only one race I've ever been in the same race as him. Of course, it was the top split, and of course, Graham Bunyan was, I think he was leading most of the race, and I think he may have won that race. Probably not a surprise to all of you who have been watching for some time. But Jason Lowe is kind of our resident real-life experience driver. He's had lots and lots of years of real-life racing, but that kind of came to a close with some different health issues that have cropped up over the years, and just like many drivers needing to step out of the real-life seat, but able to find some fun and success in sim racing and stay competitive, get that competitive fire back in the belly every Sunday morning and go out there and chase a win. But more often than not, as we look forward from Jason Lowe's car, he's been looking at the back end of that Graham Bunyan car up there and seeing that name on the rear wing, and just trying to figure out how to stay up with this guy. You know, Lowe dominated this league for several seasons, but really, when Graham Bunyan decided to show up and go full tilt at trying to take this championship, it's really been Lowe who's had to play catch up, and that's saying a lot, again, with the number of years of experience. And you just got to imagine, when you're doing this in real life, you know, there's crashes, there's all kinds of disappointing weekends, and you've still got to repair that thing, spend the whole week repairing it, maybe rebuilding engines and all the difficult work that goes into prepping race cars, and you still got to show up next Sunday. So, you know, it's in sim racing here, it's a bit easy to you know, just hop out of the car, go hop into another race, you know, no skin. But in real life, you don't have that. You don't have it so easy. So you got to put a lot of time and work and effort into just 1 week's racing. And you can tell, you know, Jason really loves to race this IndyCar, put in the time developing the setups with the rest of the team on Saturdays, and doing a lot of practice and getting prepped, and just like the rest of these racers, trying to give it an A effort every single Sunday. And the main problem for Lowe recently has been that he underwent some surgery very close to his eye, and so for a week he was definitely dealing with not being able to open his eye. I'm not sure if that has resumed, but it was Mr. Pirate for a week, but back this week, hopefully in better condition. And it's not really been those setbacks that has cost Lowe, though. It's been just the small mistakes, entering and exiting the pits, you know, just occasionally drifting up a bit too high, as it's very easy to do when you run the high line. And now we take a look at David Zaleski, who's climbed up into third. He's in fourth, or excuse me, he's up 4 positions. And, well, he's showing some of his own mastery, as he's really been known kind of, in the past he had the Intimidator helmet on his helmet. He had the skin on his helmet that he looked like he had the open face Dale Earnhardt racing helmet. But he's not, and he still has the Good Wrench helmet on there, as you can see. But he's not just known, as the Intimidator was, for the high-speed drafting races, although that is some of the bread and butter for David Zaleski. He's showing at a track like this, when you can make those adjustments and hang on to a Dallara IR18 IndyCar close to 200 miles an hour here, you know, it takes a real skill to do that, adjust your line, know how to manage this car, and he is getting it done. And I'll tell you what, tells you a lot. He's in very good company. 3-time champion Jason Lowe just in front, 2-time champion Graham Bunyan just in front of him, and just behind this driver from Australia as well, David Strid. He's had so much success this season, and we could see it coming on last season for sure, but this guy's got a ton of speed, and he knows just about everything that Graham Bunyan knows in terms of adjusting these cars. But he has not been able to get his name into that winner's column as often as he would like, and as a result, He just hasn't climbed up into the points lead yet. But it's so close. He's only 11 points off of Graham Bunyan. But Bunyan getting all of those bonus points today for not only leading a lap, but leading the most laps. And not taking pole position. So that bonus point will go to Jason Lowe. But nevertheless, Graham Bunyan and David Strid, two Australians that have made a name for themselves, and Strid here in fourth, up 2 spots so far. So we're starting to get to be another few more laps away from our pit cycle. So here's James Kennedy, and on track he's got Ryan Bowles all over the back of him. Of course, we saw Bowles having that incident, having to come in and then serve the penalty, unfortunately, for unsafe pit entry. Not really his fault, because he's kind of spinning and trying to save it, but Bowles there running behind, and he's now, after having to serve that green flag penalty, he's now a full, goodness, I think he's about 7 laps off of the pace. He's really lost, excuse me, he's shown 8 laps off the pace. He's really lost some time. And also, for those of you who are Manuel Gomez Esteban fans, he is back in the field. Just thought I would throw that out there in the meantime. Racing for Team Mazinger. And Manuel Gomez Esteban has had some great races here in the league occasionally. Getting up there into the front, mixing it up in the top 5. But just not able to get the type of consistency I know the Spanish driver would love to have in the league. And unfortunately, just today, not able to quite get it done. But he did start at the back, and he's climbed 3 spots. So we'll take a look at another driver here in the mid-pack. And as we'll take a look at Howard Livingston there, and looking over at the YouTube chat room, cars not holding, brakes is also death, and was saving fuel for the 2 stopper. Needed 1 yellow to make it work. He didn't want to be the yellow. That's words from Julian Altena, the young Dutch racer who was in the race here a short time ago, but unfortunately found the side of Jeff Murray's number 5 machine, and both of those drivers now out of the race. Mike West actually recovering from his damage, able to take repairs during that caution, and as a result is still on that lead lap. Here's Mike West racing just 2 spots behind where Howard Livingston was at. He's up 5 spots today, running in the 8th position. So Mike West, official teammate, I guess, to Graham Bunyan and David Strid, though none of them really have a team name that they utilize, but they are teammates and work together. But West here able to save it after that crash that he got caught up in, and running a solid 8th place. In between Howard Livingston, who's running in 6th, up 4 positions, and Mike West, who's up 5 positions, is Iñigo Mardones, who did not take a qualifying time. As a result, he is working his way forward, but he's in 5th place. Here's David Strid now, one of our first takers into the pits. Also Mauro Ramirez just in front of him in the pits as well. So first of our takers on pit road here on lap 63. We'll keep an eye on those who are following in behind. Bunyan now out to a 3.4 second lead over Jason Lowe, working on lap number 64. Trying to make his way around this extremely hot Atlanta Motor Speedway. And now he slows off of turn 4. Will he make it safely onto pit road? It looks like he did without losing too much time. Drivers really talking about how difficult pit entry and pit exit is here. So you got to really keep your eye on it. And there I'm seeing a car drop out of the race. I'm not sure who that was. It looks like maybe Ryan, was it Ryan Bowles? No, he's still out there. So one of the drivers choosing to exit the race. So now we also have Jason Lowe onto pit road, and behind him, James Kennedy, Howard Livingston, and Mike West. All these drivers now onto pit road, taking service for the second time today, and that will give over the lead to Iñigo Mardones and Dan Ensch. Now, we talked about Dan Ensch going that extra little bit for fuel. Here comes Mardones down into the pits. Spaniard for Necki Racing Team, he'll get that bonus point for leading a lap, and that's just how you do it. There on the track, it's Dan Ensch taking the lead for the ALZ.org, Alzheimer's Association, momentarily taking that position. Will he be able to hold on for much longer? It's a good question. We've already got Graham Bunyan catching him quite quickly, just 20 seconds back on the track. To me, it appears Ensch is off the pace. I'm not sure what is going on with the machine, but he's definitely a little off pace at the moment. Perhaps trying to hypermile this car and get some extra laps out of it, stretching all the way to lap 68. We'll have to see if the strategy works out for him, because it's given away a lot of time to his competitor, Graham Bunyan, who appears to be catching him quite rapidly. It's Graham Bunyan coming around, start finish straight, and he will take over the lead once again as Ensch is on pit road. Lowe just behind in second. We wait to see whether Ensch and Bunyan will be able to we'll see whether Ensch can manage to make this strategy work. He's following through the order quite quickly, and he himself may go down a lap because of trying to stretch that fuel tank another lap. But I think he's planning for a green flag run, and it will be very, very interesting to see whether he's the only one that can stretch that far. We did have Bunyan in on lap 64. So by my math, that probably will be good enough to make it to the end. But Ensch coming in as late as lap 68. That will ensure that he'll be able to get to the end. So as they have now done their pit stops, take a look at where everybody pitted, but there, Bunyan on the low side on Mauro Ramirez as he's putting the driver now another lap down. Mauro now going 2 laps down, as is quite easy to do to a driver like Graham Bunyan on a track like this. But Bunyan able to pick it up and put it down today, and making it look easy out there, but it is anything but. So 3.8 seconds ahead of Jason Lowe, his true arch rival and nemesis in this league, and has been for a couple of seasons. I know there is there are a number of competitors in this league who can challenge Graham on the regular, but I think there is a great deal of respect for the level of talent between Lowe and Bunyan. These two champions have battled it out numerous times, and I think Bunyan is very well aware that he's maybe been a little lucky some of these races with Lowe not able to keep up and make those perhaps as good of adjustments maybe, or run the line that Graham is running that happens to have just that little bit better tire wear. Lowe, sometimes trying the high side, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think the main thing is that Graham understands that if Jason Lowe is on his rear wing and he's able to keep up, he is a fearsome competitor and probably the highest threat in the field besides David Strid each and every week to be able to take that win. So with Jason Lowe running in second here, there is always the question as to whether he will find something deep inside his racing boots and be able to pull out a little bit of extra speed at the end of one of these stints, or perhaps save a little bit of extra fuel and go just that little bit longer. Because one thing to keep in mind is we're now seeing Iñigo Mardones back into the pits for some reason, needing to pit again. Again, he just came in not that long ago. So, yes, it's only been, I believe, about 8 laps since then. And he'll continue. Mike West also still on pit road as well. So, Bunyan here in the lead and has been for pretty much this entire race. I'm not sure if Jason Lowe actually led the first lap. I would have to go back. I think he may have led just the very first lap. And then from that point on, it's basically been the Graham Bunyan show, as he got quite high there in the corner, but seems to be running okay here. Bunyan and Lowe and David Strid, that your top three here working lap 80. We are already at lap 80 and 2/3 of the way through this one. And that's what you get when you have a clean racing league such as the US IndyCar League. A lot of green flag running and a lot of great chances to check your fuel strategy out and see if you can extend a little bit further. Lowe now making some progress on Bunyan. Perhaps Bunyan maybe tried to save a little bit of fuel just to make sure he can make it to the very end. But they're working around the high side of Manuel Gomez Esteban. And so Lowe has clipped back into that lead a little bit, down to 2.7 seconds. Strid back in third is continuing to fall off. He's now 7 seconds adrift of Bunyan. Got Kennedy still running in fourth. And though that's Mauro Ramirez on track behind him, the next car back is actually Howard Livingston, who's running in fifth. Howard's gained 5 positions from where he started today. So will Howard be able to continue to climb and try to make an attempt to hang on to that third place in the points and possibly try to gain on David Strid? That's the question. Mauro Ramirez now making his way onto pit road again. So perhaps having to take a little extra fuel. Working on lap 84. But as we mentioned, Bunyan in control of this one and has not let it out of his sights at all. And this is pretty much what he does. He just figures out a way to get that car into the optimum zone, and then he just coasts. Runs it like it's a floating cloud, tiptoeing, but gracefully ever so much. Not to compare him to a dancer, but basically able to dance at 220 miles an hour with this IR18 IndyCar like it's an extension of his own body. And I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all. Like, for anybody who's out there racing these cars, that car becomes an extension of your body. It really does. In terms of, you got to think of your tires kind of like they're your children, or your you know, your arms or your hands, or what, however, you know, the most the most connected to yourself as you can think of it, because you're always feeling what those tires individually are doing, and you can feel it every corner that you go into. Is the right front picking up a little bit too much understeer? It means that the right front's probably picking up a little bit too much heat. Wow, did Graham Bunyan go quite high out in close to the wall there. Quite surprising, to be quite honest, how close he's cutting it there, but nevertheless, he is making an attempt to maximize that track surface and maximize that tire wear, and that's one of the ways to do it, is allow the car to run its own line and take some of the load off by not turning as much into the corner. And so you set the weight jacker adjustment so that the car can essentially turn itself through the corner and not scrub off speed, and the best you can do is about the best you can do. And like I said, as you get up here towards the end of these stints especially, you're going to be lifting quite a lot. So why don't we ride on board with Graham Bunyan and see what it's like to ride a lap around the Atlanta Motor Speedway. So that's what it's like to ride a lap around. You just listen. And despite the high banks here in Atlanta, this is anything but flat out. These drivers having to really earn their money's worth today. You hear all of that lifting and the feathering of the throttle. Very gentle inputs on the wheel. No seesawing at the wheel by Graham Bunyan. Just very, very gentle. And on the right-hand side, you see our weather, and that is, I mean, this is about as atrocious of weather as you ever want to see when you are oval racing. It was up to a 10-mile-an-hour cross freeze, 135 degrees on the track, working our way towards a record high temperature that I have ever seen. This is absolutely brutal as an IndyCar driver to have to drive in this sort of condition, as it is just going to absolutely cook that right front and right rear tire, and there's just no telling how much grip is even left in this car. As now Bunyan is in safely onto pit road. He begins the long run down pit road towards his pit box, where he'll take on his final service of the day. He's managed to go quite long on that stint, well more than he needs to. Very much hard on the brakes there, locks it up, but did not go too far. Got his foot high on the rev limiter, and he's released by the team. Back underway. That is your champion, Graham Bunyan, though. If I have to be nitpicky, he did lose about a quarter of a second by not getting off the pit speed limiter there. Just perfectly. Maybe the only thing I can nitpick. I certainly can't really nitpick his ability to adjust that car out there on the track at all. And, you know, that's not even something that you can say is worth nitpicking, as Ensch now making an early stop, comparatively, I think, to some of these other drivers who have yet to even come in, such as James Kennedy and Howard Livingston, still staying out there. But in the meantime, we have seen Jason Lowe on pit road while we were watching Graham Bunyan. And here comes Jason Lowe unlapping himself as he's got brand new tires. That should tell you what the difference is, as these two now have quite different laps. It's almost 30 laps, 29 laps of difference between Lowe and Kennedy, and you can see in just the span of one lap, it's like 2 seconds of difference there. So these tires falling off as you would expect very quickly, and Kennedy now going to be pitting from that lead position, and that will give over the lead to Howard Livingston, but he won't get that bonus point for leading, unfortunately. So Howard heading down here and taking service, and Graham Bunyan now resuming the lead in front of Jason Lowe. It's a 3.8 second gap back to Lowe. See if we can even see him on the same screen. There he is, kind of that fuchsia pink colored car that enters the frame there. Go on board the StickQuik.com blimp. And of course, they're not quite close enough together to be caught by the StickQuik.com blimp, but we are under 25 laps remaining. It's clicking off quite quickly here, and we hope you're enjoying it in 4K ultra high definition here on VirtualRacing.Network. If you are, you want to see more, well, you know where to go. Just click on that big subscribe button down in the corner. You get a chance to see all of the US IndyCar League races right here on VirtualRacing.Network. Also, make sure, please, to tick that little bell that says receive all notifications. And while you're there, go ahead and like this video, and it'll just keep recommending more good IndyCar races here on VirtualRacing.Network to you. Always great to pick up new subscribers and continue our march onwards from 200 subscribers. We're now already over a quarter after that, but as we're looking down on the track, it's Jason Lowe just managing to get around the crashing car of Ryan Bowles, who has hit the outside wall and has done damage to that 25 machine. Here he pulls it down onto pit road, smoking the tires as he comes in. And unfortunately, Bowles has had a difficult run of it today in the hot Atlanta sun. It's not going to end up in victory lane today and is dropping back quickly, but still going to be able to take that 11th place more than likely, and had a couple of points to his total, and I guess that's the main thing that you can take away from a week like this for Bowles, who's already won in the series this season. So Bunyan leading us here with just under 20 to go. Jason Lowe in second and David Strid in third. We'll go side by side so that you don't miss anything out here on the track. And get our configuration right. And there it is. Look at that cool toolbox on your screen. What's all these? How does that even work? Oh, there must be some tape or something special going on there. There's some trickery with the camera, right? Nope, not at all. Those utensils in that kitchen are hanging right off the side of that refrigerator, and there's no tape, there's no hooks, there's nothing like that involved. What's going on here? Well, that's the StickQuik in use, and you can see how it can transform everything from your medicine cabinet to the side of your commercial kitchen stove, literally anything that's metal. It doesn't even have to be metal, to be honest with you, because we'll explain what's going on here. Basically, you got two parts to this. You got this heavy-duty silicone ring. It's chemical resistant and wear resistant, weather resistant, all those resistancies that you need in your life to help protect your valuables And it's got a little magnet on it, and that magnet is where this comes in handy. You can stick anything that's kind of roundish. Yeah, I mean, it could be kind of like a square end on a wrench or something like that too. But I mean, it just goes right over the outside of it. There's a bunch that come in a package, and as you can see, you can get them in all different colors, and basically that magnet allows you to stick it right to anything that's steel. Will take a magnetic connection, or if it doesn't, and even if it's plastic, you want to put it in your shower, hang up your razor, you know, just like that, boom, right on cue. Thank you so much to my well-planned execution of this script. There is the razor, and it's sticking to even glass. How does it do it? Well, they give you little sticky pads, and you can stick them anywhere you want. That's how cool it is. That's what they've done for you. They've thought it all out so that you don't have to. Just buy this pack right here on StickQuik.com. You'll see many more use cases if you need them, but otherwise, I think I've done a good enough job selling here. You should just go there right now and just fill up your cart with at least, you know, 2, 3 of these things, because again, they're so inexpensive. You can give them to your friends. It makes a perfect gift. Start the new year right. Organize anything. It's the StickQuik. And though Mr. StickQuik couldn't be in today's race, he's definitely given his thumbs up and wishes you well in your new year. You should join him and get organized right now. Get over to StickQuik.com. Pick up yours today. So, resume our coverage here on VirtualRacing.Network live. It's just 12 laps to go here in Atlanta, living up to its moniker that I don't know how many people in Atlanta actually love, but it's certainly become known as that around colloquially. And Hotlanta is absolutely living up to its name. And little aside, while we just have a second, we watch Bunyan bring this one to a close, because I don't think Jason Lowe's going to make up 6.45 seconds on the track, but we'll see. Those of you that recall, there was a iRacing test for a very certain Gregor Hutu to get into a real-life race car, and I have no idea why or how it worked out this way, but you took a Finnish driver, flew him overseas, he got a chance to go out in a small Formula car, and they brought him to Atlanta. I think it was the Skip Barber series, and it was just hot as blazes on that day at, I'm guessing, Road Atlanta. I can't honestly remember, but the poor guy was just having fits. You took a guy out of where it's icy most of the year, and you bring him to a place where it's 120 plus degrees, and he was throwing up all over the place. He could barely keep anything down. They could barely get him in the car, and they were filming this whole TV show. Somewhere it's out there. It's probably on YouTube, but just speaks volumes about the reality of the heat, and obviously it affects the machines and their engines and their tires dramatically, but it really does affect these drivers. And to a much smaller way, the sim racing drivers, of course, are, you know, they, as I was mentioning, it gets warm in rooms, especially if it's the summer. It can be quite hot in your racing room, 90, 100 degrees. But in the cockpits of these cars in real life, and certainly around a track like this, this would just be absolute torture. So, you know, these drivers, they get a little taste of what it's like to be out there as a real-life driver, but you got to give your hats off to the real-life drivers who operate these Indy cars in some of the worst conditions imaginable. I wouldn't force anybody to ever have to do it, but they willingly line up every week, throw their hat in the ring, and don all that Nomex and the heavy gloves and the boots and the helmet and sweat it out. Just like those Tour de France riders out there working off like 5,000 to 10,000 calories a day. All these drivers have to prepare and hydrate, get the right foods, make sure they have enough energy. And again, it's sim racing is it may not be facing 120 degrees in the cockpit, but you have to prepare. You have to prepare mentally to get through 124 laps and be completely consistent and not make any mistakes. And you have to physically prepare. You've got to get a good night's sleep. You've got to make sure your muscles are all in shape. Many of these drivers using very highly tuned wheels that have strong force feedback on them, including the direct drive wheels. And as Graham works on 3 laps to go here, I mean, these drivers have to make sure that they're in shape and they have the stamina to keep operating these steering wheels and pushing all the pedals all race long. Believe me, it may look easy to watch it and like they're on a Sunday drive out here, but it is anything but. Your mind is always racing and engaged, and always your body is physically taxed and being held and contorted in very specific muscle memory positions to be able to win. So for those of you out there who are part of teams and the like that are doing the 24 hours of Daytona, that's going on right now. In real life, they'll be there. Of course, they're qualifying this weekend. They'll be out there next weekend. We just did ours at Last Lap Motorsports and didn't have the results that we wanted, but we wish all of you who did race the 24, we hope you had a great time and look forward to seeing all of the racers, of course, in real life IndyCar out there next weekend. Make sure to stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, it is Graham Bunyan who has been the class of the show. He does it almost every single week, but it's never to be overstated. I mean, this guy just knows how to get it done behind the wheel, the Dallara IR18 IndyCar here on iRacing. Second place, a hard-fought, well-deserved one to Jason Lowe, who hung on and didn't let that car get out from under him today. Third place going to David Strid, who hangs on to that second place in the championship. He's going to lose a few points to Graham Bunyan in that championship. Very crucial points there. So normally a day when you would celebrate that podium position, I mean, I don't know if David Strid's still celebrating third places, but I always celebrate a podium. You know, the champagne always tastes just as sweet in third place as it does in first. But, you know, when you're looking at the championship picture, unfortunately, you know, you're just looking at those points disappearing. And so the two teammates here side by side on the front straightaway, and for good reason, taking victory and third place and splitting. Jason Lowe in second, you know, 3-time champion and the winner potential out of Jason Lowe. I think you got to feel good with a first and third if you're that team with Bunyan and Strid. Kennedy hanging on for fourth, and great to see Kennedy able to come back and race with us here. He's always one of the favorites in the series and showing why in fourth. Zaleski actually bailed out of the race earlier. I see that West maybe crashed, but I don't know why Zaleski dropped out. Also, big shout out to David Zaleski, who does all of the points updating for the series. He does that every single week, and so he actually gets it usually done early enough that I could announce it live here on the air, but I don't always get that opportunity. So we're going to be looking for some of these drivers to step in here in the broadcast booth in just a moment. Stay tuned for our post-race interviews, hopefully momentarily, as we wait for some of them to drift in and let us know that they are ready. But your winner here, Graham Bunyan, in first. No surprise, led the most number of laps. He didn't start in the lead, but he took it with authority, and Jason Lowe hung on for second. David Strid in third. We never get a chat with David Strid, but we frequently do with Graham Bunyan. Hopefully we'll get a chat this week with him. We'll also have see Jason Lowe popping in here in just a minute. Hopefully we'll get a chat with him as well. He's actually had quite a good week this week. In the meantime, why don't I see if I can bring in Dan Ensch? It's always great to talk with Dan. Hey, Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you doing? How was your race? We saw you doing the fuel save strat. You got out there, led a couple of laps for the ALZ.org Alzheimer's Association Drive SVR machine, Spark SVR machine for Last Lap Motorsports, but didn't really work out the way that you wanted. Talk us through what today's race was like.
Oh, well, I got my Alz.org machine up there with a little publicity, and that's more important than winning a race, I suppose. But I got an extra point for leading a lap and what have you. I am just amazed by this group of people. The track was so difficult with the pit exit and the snappiness off of 2 and 4, and yet everybody. I mean, look what happened. We had what, 1 yellow, 2? I don't remember. Not very many.
Right, just the 1 yellow, and that's difficult. Wait, was it 2 yellows? Now I'm questioning it. Maybe it was 2 yellows, but either way. As you said, not really as many people struggling hitting the wall with it, but just really struggling to make those adjustments today. What was it like to make those adjustments? Was it the right front that was kicking off? Were you having trouble keeping the right rear jacked up enough? What seemed to be the bigger difficulty today?
Honestly, when I wanted to run good laps, I could. My last stint there, now Jason might argue that maybe I should have let him go by and let him get after Graham a little bit more. Maybe he's right. But I came out of the pits on my last stint about 8 seconds behind Howard and was really wanting to try to get an extra spot. So I took off and flew as fast as I could. And I was making some darn good laps and actually pulled away from Jason a little bit. But anyway, when I wanted to, I could run some good laps. I was doing good work on my weight jackets and everything. So I could get some speed out of the car. I wished I'd have done it a little bit earlier. But again, these guys just amaze me. I just kept thinking they're gonna mess up. They're gonna spin out coming out of the cones, and we're gonna get a quick yellow. And it just never happened. These guys are amazing.
Absolutely amazing. Great level of competition and ability, talent here in the US IndyCar League. Multiple seasons, and you're one of the regulars here, Dan. Pretty tough group to crack, but nevertheless. We'll see. Still got several more races to get it done and get that ALZ.org machine possibly up there into victory lane, but always great to have you in the series and bringing a little bit of a different strategy to play each and every week. It did manage to get you a bonus point for leading, and you did get a chance to get up there and get some ALZ.org time on screen. So good for you, bud.
Yeah, and I really, I'm not really aimed at a championship because I've already missed 2 races, unfortunately. But I feel good about my consistency. I've been at the top 5. Well, this is the first time I haven't made top 5, I think, but still close enough at 6. So I'm happy with my consistency and not putting somebody in a wall every race.
Well, if you can't get a top 5, I guess 6th is just right outside of that. So either way, you're having great runs here. And just the other day, you're posting in our team chat that you're running elsewhere as well and doing quite well. And we wish you all the luck all around iRacing. And certainly next Sunday, everybody can tune in right here and check out Dan Ensch and that beautiful sparkling purple, white, and black machine right here on VirtualRacing.Network. Good luck next week. We'll see you then, bud.
All right, and in case he tunes in, we sure miss Mr. StickQuik today, and hope to get Richard back next time.
Absolutely. Always great to have Richard in the field. And that's Dan Ensch joining us there from his place in 6th, his finishing position in 6th. He did lead a lap today, a couple laps maybe, but in the end, it wasn't his race to get the top 5 or the win. And we'll get a chance to talk with some of our podium finishers here. Let's see here. We've got, let's go ahead and go to Jason Lowe, who actually can join us. He qualified on the pole position for today's race, and that alone is no surprise whatsoever. I think what's really amazing is to see him come in 2nd place. Jason, you look like the Jason Lowe of old. You were there on the pole position and you're starting out the race just fine, and then before very long that blue and black machine of Graham Bunyan came a-calling, and that was about the last that you saw of him as he disappeared off into the sunset. Nevertheless, you captured 2nd position here, Jason. and a good run for you today. Congratulations.
Thank you, and congratulations to Graham and David Spritt on his third. Tough race, slick track. Graham definitely had better settings in traffic than I did. I just was not good in traffic. When I got behind another car, I was in trouble. And I wasn't aggressive enough, and I was not willing to be aggressive enough with the settings. I wanted a good finish. Second is the first loser, but I'll take it today.
Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, given as you've talked about and we've talked about, I mean, it's been the little things sometimes, the little mistakes or a little overcorrection on the controls to try to get a little bit more turn or something, and it causing a spin or causing you to come hot off the turn 4 and go through the infield. It's just been the little things. It's not been your overall speed that's kept you from getting up there into second. But yeah, it's got to feel good to get that second place, especially a really challenging day today with that heat. Talk to us a little bit about how difficult it was with that heat, and were you doing a lot of adjustments? Did you feel like this was excessive adjustments compared to what we normally do?
No, it was just I felt my personal window was pretty narrow, because if I did what I needed to do, I was really probably going to crash off at turn 2. I really was having a problem with wanting to snap loose off at 2 if I freed the car up at all. I stayed pretty conservative. I needed a podium finish. I needed to get back on track. I would have liked to challenge Graham harder. At times I was putting in laps similar to his. I'm happy about that. Of course, I am happy about getting on the pole. But Graham was the faster racer today, like he is many days, and second's where I ended up. And I'm not unhappy. And I'm also not unhappy with Dan Ensch. I understand the position he was in. Were I in his position, I might have made a different choice than he made, but that's up to him. And absolutely no hard feelings there.
Well, and you know, you're doing 124 laps. You got to make a lot of split-second decisions about where you're going to run, how hard you're going to push, and whether there's anything that you can do. I mean, you could throw a caution to the wind and go one strategy or another and say, well, maybe we will get a caution. I'll use up all my tires right now. But either way, as you said, discretion's a little bit better part of valor, and you might be looking at a different place in the championship if you did back out a little bit more sometimes. But Jason, that's not what you're known for, man. You're known for going hard at it, and nevertheless, sometimes, like you said, especially at a challenging day like today, it's just better to back out and say, hey, maybe Graham will make a mistake. I'll let him be the guy that makes the mistake today. But three-time champion, you're back in form here. How's your eye feeling, for everybody who wants to know?
Oh, the eye's fine. I've got my stitches out. Everything's good. Very minimal scarring. So thanks everybody who were asking. But I'm all good. Been fighting a little bit of a respiratory infection the last few days. It didn't affect me today. I'm just a little bit tired. But again, congratulations to Graham. Sorry that Rick missed the race due to computer problems. Thank you to StickQuik for putting us on. And Trevor, thank you as always for your great broadcast.
Well, thank you very much, and I will let you get on to your other busy business here, running the league, etc. And of course, for those of you who are out there watching, maybe you want to get involved with the US IndyCar League, Jason Lowe is the man to talk to. Just go down to the link in the description down below if you've done any IndyCar racing at all, and you can apply to the league. You'll get a chance to talk with Jason Lowe and perhaps come out and do a practice session with the group, show that you are ready to handle these IR18 Indy cars. But it's that easy. There's no charge. Thanks to StickQuik and StickQuik.com and many others who have contributed here in the league. Thank you so much, Jason, for joining us. Good luck next week, bud. And in the meantime, looking at the points here, this was coming into the race, and it'll be even closer between Jason Lowe and Howard Livingston. Livingston coming in 5th and Lowe coming in 2nd. Those are crucial points, including the bonus point for getting that pole position. So that gap will close, and we'll look to be seeing a very close, tight points race battle for that 3rd position going forward into our next race. So let's see. I believe I saw Graham Bunyan is available, and we'll get a chance to talk with him. Hey, Graham, can you hear me?
Yeah, I certainly can. How you going?
I'm going great, my friend. You must be going great as well. You didn't qualify on the pole. That just seemed to upset you, and you pretty much took the lead on the second lap. But you do anything that you want on fresh tires. It was the rest of the 123 laps that you had to play out today that really defined yourself, your race win, in this victory. Another race of absolute mastery here, Graham. Congratulations on your win.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, tough one today. Congrats to the podium, to Jason second and Dave third. Well done. And sorry to see that Richard wasn't here, but I'm quite sure he'll be here next week.
Absolutely. And we look forward to seeing Mr. StickQuik every week. I mean, now I basically I warped some of the ways that we do our coverage around getting to position him on the screen when we do the commercial and such. So it's kind of a shock when he's not in the field, but of course everybody's got real life other stuff to do, and sometimes we get emergency stuff that catches us out week in and week out. And that's why it's great to have you in the series, Graham. You're always there every Sunday, for the most part every Sunday, and you're able to take part and bring your level of your degree of mastery to the race. And today was like I said, no exception. Super hot track, 135 degrees Fahrenheit on the track. What is it like to run an IndyCar with your tires basically boiling off of the car?
It's like ice. It's you're dicing every lap. It's just crazy. So many changes made in the car to make it work properly. So many changes on the ARB. I really didn't play with the weight checker much. It was all ARB this time, but yeah, it's just crazy.
Well, let's talk about another factor, which is your right foot, and possibly even your left foot coming into play as you have to work on traffic, etc. We were, you go from being basically flat out capable on your first lap to having to really pedal and feather that throttle in as you're going through the corner and coming off. Sometimes getting the car just to turn with the throttle. So how much more were you active trying to keep this car turning and trying to keep your right foot not pushing you up into the wall today versus normal when you can just pretty much go flat out?
Yeah, well, I think the right calf muscle's a little bit bigger than the left one right now. But yeah, look, a lot of modulation on the accelerator, and also, to help it steer and maintain speed was to do a bit of brake trailing or trail braking, whatever you want to call it. We're upside down here. So to keep that front end down and have that grip, you had to use the brake whilst using the accelerator as well. So it was tough.
And not only tough, but I mean, so many drivers, it would, as soon as it starts to get tough, a lot of drivers, you got to take your foot out of the throttle, kind of reassess, make an adjustment. A lot of very reactive driving that many drivers get caught out on is, you're not prepared for it. You go through a corner, it starts to slip away on the back end, it starts to slip away on the front end. But you got to stay ahead on those adjustments, be thinking a lap ahead, 2 laps ahead. Graham, you seem to do that as good or better than anyone else in this league. You're always able to look at what is coming up the next lap, coming up the next corner. How is that going for you? Are you thinking in terms of that? Are you thinking this lap? Are you thinking this corner? Or are you thinking, here's what I'm going to do, a lap ahead, 5 laps ahead, 3 laps ahead? Are you always mentally adjusting your calculations?
Always mentally adjusting, man. It's I'm trying to be at least 1 to 2 laps in front of myself. So, I see the lap traffic coming up about 20 seconds up the road, and I'm just trying to picture where they're going to be. I want to try and line them up where I want them to be as well. So the aero push was a little bit tough. It did slow you down, but once I played around, we only had control of the front ARB. The rear wasn't connected in the race setup, so it was a matter of just adjusting the brakes and using that accelerator and brake pedal to just maintain that speed and try and get in the right position each lap.
Well, you try to get it in the right place, but many try. You did another thing of mastery here, and I can't lay enough superlatives on you. You really didn't make any mistakes today. I tried to nitpick you a tiny bit. You were like a fraction of a second late coming off of the pit speed limiter. But then again, when you're as fast as you are, you build up enough of a cushion, you can do things like not pull off the pit speed limiter just a fraction of a second too early and cost yourself a speeding penalty. But that's all I could find, Graham. You did a perfect race today. And as I said, it's always great to get a chance to watch you in action out here. Congratulations on another win. And you're getting really close to putting away this third championship and hitting that mark of Jason Lowe.
Yeah, thanks. Look, it's a pleasure to be here every week. You know, I in my line of work, it's lucky that I am here. The amount of hours we've been working and everything else that's happening. So, but yeah, look, it's yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, it is what it is. I do it for the love of it. I'm very passionate about this e-sport. I call it an e-sport. A lot of people get paid for it now, you know. So, I wish I was a lot younger. I wish this was around 30 years ago. It would have been great.
Well, for those of you who are looking to get on the side pod and the helmet and talk to Mr. Bunyan about making him a paid esport driver, he's racing in a big other championship at the moment, and he is absolutely dominant in these Indy cars. Might be a fun business move to do so. We'll see if we can move some collateral around and get some sponsorship on the side of that car. Graham, you deserve it, bud. And again, just another great run here, great run at the championship, and we'll see if anybody can bring that can bring some more competition to you for the last 3 races. Lowe's looking better. David Stritt is always a challenge. We're getting some regulars back in the field like Kennedy and Zaleski. Any one of these guys any week can bring the challenge to you, but you've done it. Congratulations to you, and we'll look forward to seeing you the rest of the season.
Look, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some A1 drivers here, and yeah, don't ever say that you're not, and don't ever think that I'm not invincible. I am. I mean, well, yeah, I'm invincible. No, what is it?
You said the inverse.
Hang on. Yeah, wow. Hey, tickets on myself now. No. Yeah, no. I can be beaten, no matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just lucky on track. I just pick my time.
I mean, and ultimately that's it. And that's why we have these conversations, just to show that you're active making these adjustments, but it's only your mastery of being able to stay on top of that. And any one of these drivers any given week can do that, and possibly better, because Bunyan is not unbeatable. It's available for anybody to go out there and win. But hey, man, you set the benchmark. We'll see you next week. Great to have you with us, and as always, you're just the class of the show. Thank you so much, man. And next week is going to be Fontana, though, wide open. You talk about anybody has a chance. We got California Speedway, we've got Talladega coming up. Those are 2 races where you better book your flight now and book your seat, because this is going to be some high flying excitement. And as I said, anybody's got a chance in these 2 upcoming races. So
book an ambulance.
Oh boy, get those wrist straps ready, folks, and hang on to your hollyhocks. It should be a fun, flying, exciting show next week. That's Graham Bunyan joining us from Victory Circle. You see David Stritt doing donuts alongside his teammate. It's been great having you with us here on VirtualRacing.Network for another round of the US IndyCar League. That's going to do it for us this week. So great to have you with us, and make sure you subscribe, like this video, and head on over to StickQuik.com and pick up your StickQuiks right now. Tell them US IndyCar League sent you, so they know their sponsorship is working. It was Graham Bunyan taking victory here, no surprise, continuing his march on his 3rd straight championship in season 13. Will he take victory next week? Will he clinch the championship next week? That is anybody's question. Stay tuned. Join us same time next week, same channel. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Stay safe, stay clean, and most of all, stay tuned for the end of Season 13 here on VirtualRacing.Network. Until then, Trevor Greenfield signing off. Bye-bye, everybody.